Did you meet any interesting people?
Met a ton of interesting people. Some people, I think we were going to Milan or Venice. I think we were going to Venice. And on the train, we were sitting next to two older ladies. They didn't know a lick of English at all. So I had my little translate book, and it was a pretty long train ride, I think at least 3 hours. And one random thought, or I thought of, in Italy, a lot of people have really red hair. They dye their hair like really red. Not as red as like Rihanna's, but it's like, that's very acceptable. Mm-hmm. And so like these ladies had like really bright red hair, and they were like 60, 65. So they were really cool, even though we really couldn't get to know them because the language barrier. That was the time where the language was a barrier. And also another train ride, we met this guy who would travel every day. I really can't remember the exact location we were going from. I think we were going from Florence to Venice, but he would commute every day on the train to go to work. And so we sat next to him, and he was like pointing us out on a map, like places to go. And it was really cool meeting him because he recognized the girl that I went with, Taylor Nasserini. She's technically, she's Italian, years, bloodlines down the road she is. So that's where her last name comes from. And so he recognized her name, and her name is famous in northern Italy. Nasserini is a famous dress shop. So like last names, like, people really recognize you for your last name. And so, I mean, I'm sure it's like 10 generations separated, but so, she's famous for dressmaking in Italy. But we met people. It was an interesting story going from Venice to Cinque Terre. Mm-hmm. We on our train, like during our train ride, I was looking at our itinerary that we printed up, and I noticed that we had a day missing. Like we had wrote down, okay, we're leaving on this day, but we didn't have the hotel booked for that night. We had it booked for the other night, so it was just like a blank day that we just completely forgot about. And we noticed that on the train going to, our location where we're supposed to have that hotel. We didn't have it booked. And there was this guy in our little train cabin, and we were thinking, nobody knew English. And he stepped in to help us because here we are freaking out like, oh, God, what are we going to do? We got to find a hotel. Where are we going to get off? And Cinque Terre is very, very packed. I mean, during summer, because it's so gorgeous. That's where all the Italians go. It's kind of like their Destin or, their seaside. So it was completely, there was no we couldn't get a reservation because we tried calling we used his phone actually trying to call. And he actually stepped in to help us because he was very fluent in English. Mm-hmm. He was our age, so he was younger, and so he would get on the phone and try and get us a reservation at a hotel. Couldn't get a reservation at any hotel in Cinque Terre, so we got off at his stop actually. Lorecci, La Spezia, and Genoa were not planned in our itinerary, those 3 cities. And we got to go to them because of that day that we didn't have booked. We got off in Lorecci, or La Spezia. They start with L, so we got off in La Spezia, where he gets off. Mm-hmm. And it's just like 45 minutes away from Cinque Terre by train. And so he helped us find a hotel to stay at. And so we just kind of popped into the city for the night because it's the only place we could get a hotel at. And the next day, we got on the train to go to Cinque Terre. In the meantime, he had we communicated through Facebook because we didn't have any cell phones, or we couldn't speak to other people with international numbers. And so actually, while we were in Cinque Terre, once we finally got to Cinque Terre the next day, we left Cinque Terre a day early, and he came and visited us in Cinque Terre. And so he showed us around Cinque Terre, and then he invited us to his part of the woods, which was Lorecci. Mm-hmm. And they're all very close. They're all like a 30-minute train ride apart from each other. So we left Cinque Terre a day early. We had paid for the hotel in Cinque Terre. It was like 100 euros. And we just popped on a train with him to go to Lorecci. And that's how we got to see Lorecci, which was my favorite part of the trip. Mm-hmm. It was gorgeous. So pretty. And just, so that's how we got to see that. And the next day he took us to his college town, Genoa. So that's how we saw Genoa. So it was, meeting him was very cool because we got to see 3 different cities, because if we hadn't messed up that hotel day, and, who would have known if we haven't had Facebook, that wouldn't have happened. Luckily, we had Wi-Fi in pretty much every hotel we went to. And so meeting with him, those were our last 3 days of the trip, and those are the best 3 days because we got to be with someone like a real Italian who was very good at English, and he was very Americanized. Like, he had traveled, he's been to America like twice and studied abroad over here. So, what was I saying? And, so when we went to Genoa and stayed with his college, we stayed at his college dorm. So we got to see what their college is like, and it's like something that looks like Harvard, but it's normal for them. It's not like a private school. It's just the architecture over there is just gorgeous. It's very upstanding. His exams, like what he was studying, it just made you feel so inferior, like what we're studying. I felt like, and that's, again, I told the story earlier where we went out to eat, or we went out for drinks, and they talked to us about poetry and talked to us about politics, and they also told us that they were teaching us about their school system, and in college, instead of us being tested on an exam, like a multiple choice exam, they would be tested by having to just write an essay over everything that they know about the subject. So if they're being tested on World War II in America, it's not specific questions. It's just, you can write pages and pages of everything that you know, random facts and interesting facts, important facts, just to prove to your teacher, this is all I know about the subject. And so that's something that I was just blown away by, because I think that's why they've got such an appreciation for more subjects, because for us it's just like memorizing, who did this battle or whatever, something that, no offense, I don't really care about. And so they just know a lot more, I think, because of that's the way of teaching. And they also, in elementary school, they had to memorize the Divine Comedy, which we've all studied here. I think it's mandatory, at least for our school systems, in Marietta and those suburbs. But they memorized the Divine Comedy, like back in elementary school, they said. And so they've got a huge appreciation for, poetry like that, and have a deeper understanding for it. So that was that kind of blew me away, and I was like, cool, I don't know anything. So it was definitely cool meeting people. And I'm trying to think of other people. Men over there were very, very forward. They're just very romantic, but they're just it's just very open. Again, Europeans, be making out on the steps, tongue down your throat. And you're just okay, what's going on? So dealing with that was just very different. If you gave anyone the wrong kind of message, they just ran with it, kind of thing. So it was difficult. You didn't want to be rude, but that's just their way. That's just their culture, to be that forward and that touchy and stuff. So
can you tell me about that woman that you met that left America, the lawyer? Wasn't she a lawyer?
Yeah, she's from up north, New York or something. This is when we were with that college guy that we had met in Italy. This is in Genoa, that night that we stayed with his college friends and got it. That's when we went out for drinks and talking about politics. And we met this lady. She was 35, still young. She was a lawyer from up north in America. And it sounds like she was very successful, because she had the money to just get up. She quit her job, just sounded like she just kind of got up. I don't know really what set it off, maybe a breakup or some kind of awakening. And she first traveled, she traveled somewhere besides Italy. I can't remember, maybe Morocco, something. And she just kind of just left America, and then after traveling, I think, to Morocco, she then bought a one-way ticket to Italy. And we met her in Italy throughout. It was the end of her stay. I think it was a 6 month visa. Anyways, it was running low. She had a month left. and she was just, drinking. She was having fun. She was just, very. She just traveled, and she didn't want to go back. And when we met her, she was gonna go back like a month after we met her, only to go back to America to get more things and to be able to buy another ticket. Because like you can do that. You can kind of cheat the system by, traveling for 6 months, come home for 2 days, and just renew that whole 6-month visa again.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, she fell in love with Italy and up and quit her lawyer job, paying big bucks. Doesn't sound like she had a job. I don't know. I mean, she said it pushed her to meet people. She just saw a whole nother view on life after she traveled, and I mean, I'm sure she's still there. So that was awesome. Meeting someone like that, coming from America, meeting someone who can. But again, here I am, a college student. I don't have the financial stability to just do that. Even though I don't even know if I've got the mental stability to do that. She did, but I mean, I gotta eat. Italy's expensive.